Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm here with Brother T, and I'm your host, Jason Keeton. Welcome, everyone. Brother T, how's it going today?
It's going quite well, quite well. We're getting close to holiday season, right? We're already in the thick of it.
Yeah,
Which is great. Seeing family. I'm going to be seeing some more family. You know, it's just a really wonderful time of year. I'm feeling the love. Seems to be a good energy everywhere I'm going. I don't know. This seems to be a happier season this year than some I've had in the past, and some of that's been my personal life and the transitions and adjusting to where I'm at now. So for me, things are bubbly and sweet.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that kind of leads me into my first question for today. If you're ready for it, I'll take a stab at it.
We'll see. Let's find out.
All right. Well, today I want to get right into the depths of what Paul Selig would call the wondering, or what is this belief that we have that we create our reality, and when we wonder how that has to break that belief so we can see miracles, we can expect miracles, and we can manifest miracles. And so my question today is if you would guide us through the vibration of wonder.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's see what happens. I'll tell you what, let's turn within and take a good deep breath. Are you there? Of course you are. So we invite in and welcome all of those in high consciousness who want to join us today. Our families that we travel with, our loved ones, our guides, our teachers, and the masters, of course. All are love, and all is love, and we feel the vibration. So we bring that into our experience. We know who we are. Word. We are Word. And we are excited to be back again, wherever two or more are joined in the vibrational energy and resonance of love that is always and only God. And so it is.
And so it is.
Yeah, that feels good. Hey, yeah, let's just start. Let's jump in. I wonder what we're going to do today, right?
Yeah.
So there is a little opportunity in your language to talk about beliefs versus knowing. So let's go back as far back as we can remember, where we saw something for the very first time. I think I was already in almost the third grade when my dad brought home a box with 2 or 3 ducks in it, baby ducks. I'd never seen baby ducks before. Wow, that was a wonder. Wow, what could this be? You see, the difference between learning and conditioning and learning and conditioning and discovery is that when we are in the consciousness of discovery, we are indeed in a state of wonder. And when we release any and all ideas, all perceptions of what being in relationship with God really is, rather than, again, what we've learned or what we've been conditioned to believe, we enter a state of wonder. It's been said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, be childlike. You've heard that expression before. I think it was Jesus might have been saying that, or some master. I know I've heard it many times. I'm not sure exactly where. I'm pretty sure it's in the Bible, but, be ye like a child. I'm getting closer to it now, right? Be you like it. What was that? What does that mean? Have you ever noticed? Like especially when I see little children that are just a few months old, and I'll catch their eyes and I'll go, and because they're continuously and constantly in a state of wonder, and we condition ourselves out of it. God is being new in every now, now, now. And we miss it again and again and again. If we'll allow ourselves to tell our stinking thinking mind, our egoic mind, get thee behind me. And say, well, I believe this. As soon as you say, I believe, you are in an egoic state of consciousness. You are not in a state of wonder. How do you get into a state of wonder? By stepping away from listening to and giving the thoughts of your busy mind your attention. And I've shared this with you guys before, shared this here today before on our podcast. The one thing that the ego cannot defend itself against is you ignoring it. Because anytime you're giving the ego your attention, you are ignoring God. Now think about that. Wonder about that rather than think about it. How could that be? It can be because you are the director of your awareness. Where you focus and direct your attention determines the thoughts that you are engaged with. And so when you step away from, when you ignore your beliefs, your thinking mind about anything and everything, especially anything and everything to do with God, you can't possibly, I'm speaking of the ego now, the ego cannot possibly imagine God, but oh, it loves to. And so it makes up a God, of course, in its own image. And when you read phrases that have been inserted in religious documents that speak of being afraid of God or speak of a God that's wrathful or vengeful or jealous, you are literally watching where someone at some point couldn't resist the temptation to make God up in their own image. God is not made up in the ego's image, period, period, period. God's nothing like the ego. In fact, it's the exact opposite. So if the God is the exact opposite of the ego and the ego's thoughts, how can the ego imagine God? It can't. So instead of us trying to figure out how to be wonderful, right? Just be wonderful. Just be present, which means that you're not giving your awareness to your thinking, you're giving awareness to the display of love that is ever present and can be witnessed with your five senses, through your hearing, through your taste, through your touch, through your sight, right? All of these things are wonderful. But we have to release, we don't have to do anything. We can, and we have the power to release our commitment to the ego's idea that it can describe, define, and execute a plan to know God. The only thing the ego can ever do is to sit down and shut up and get out of the way so the wonder of God can be experienced. I'll leave it there. What does that bring up for you, Jason?
Yeah, no, I love this because I feel like personally I do an okay job of wandering and being a good person and being a good spiritual person. Okay, that's my ego. I feel like I'm a good spiritual person. I realize that's my ego talking. However, I I am sitting here creating this wonderful world, and people are around me are happy. And I was traveling the other day and about to I was filling up the rental car right before I got onto the airplane and returning the car, and in my wonderful creation of the universe, where I had spent time in Florida with my girlfriend, and visited her family, and we had a great time with family and friends and weather. I'm filling the car with the rental car with fuel, and there's a homeless person in a wheelchair, and he looks at me and he said, "Hey, brother, could you get me a Coca-Cola, Doritos, and a Snickers?" And I don't know why he was there. And a lot of times I say no, but his request was certainly reasonable, very specific. So I went in and got him a Coca-Cola, a Snickers bar, and a Doritos. And I told him to have a good day. And I looked down at his bare feet, and he looked up at me. He was like, "Do you not see me?" He's like, "I don't know if I'm going to have a good day." But I a lot of times it makes me, I don't know. I don't like to surround myself necessarily with the downtrodden, and the I does that make me a bad person? I don't want to be a spiritual narcissist by saying I'm creating a environment that I mean, I love to help people. I love to smile and stuff, but sometimes it makes me feel like a bad person when I'm not actually going out into the community and helping. And maybe I need to do that more. I'm not sure. I get confused because, like I said, have this wonderful life, and then I'm presented with things that are obviously not so wonderful, and I wonder what my responsibilities should be.
Well, let's take a good deep breath here for just a second. Our responsibility is to be happy. And one of the best ways to do that is not to let the egoic thought that there are shoulds and shouldn'ts and betters and worst, and that we can be anything other than what God has created us to be. Period, period, period. Now, I could say, you know what, I'm going to go back into my dream tonight and fix that little problem I had in my dream last night. Because there was somebody in my dream last night, and they were a beggar, and they didn't have any shoes, and I just didn't give them any love. So I'm going to go back in there tonight, and I'm going to make that right. I'm going to fix it up. Do you think I'd be very successful at that?
Probably not.
Probably not. I probably won't have that experience again, unless, of course, I give it power and I keep pulling it forth into my experience. Everything that's coming into our experiencing, what we're experiencing is a reflection of self-judgment. Judgment doesn't start when you judge somebody outside of yourself. It starts when you judge yourself. And we don't like how we judge ourselves, and we sweep it under the rug, the boulder in the middle of the room that we walk around all day long. And then when we go outside, we see somebody that reminds us of the judgment we've already judged ourselves for, we project it on them. Something's wrong with that person. There's nothing wrong with anybody except one thing. They believe that they are separate from God. Now, they might not express it that way, but it is the basis and foundation of their entire thought system. And if they believe they're separate from God, they may also believe they're not worthy. There's plenty of that kind of talk that's been conditioned and preached and pushed into people's lives. We have an entire punishment system, a judicial system that is nothing more than a punishment system to show people that they're not worthy of love. And not only do we not show them love, give them love, and help them heal, we isolate them from the very people that can do that for them. Separation is the name of the game where the ego is concerned. The ego is insane. It's insane. And if I'm in an insane asylum, and everybody there is insane, and somebody believes that they're, not worthy, and their life is reflecting their belief system, is that some evaluation of me, or is it really them blessing me and showing me that if I don't understand that I can make a different choice, I could make that choice just like they have, because we're all exposed to very similar continuous nonstop conditioning from the mind of fear, the mind of separation. So as you were sharing your story, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what you were being when you were thinking through those options and those judgments in that situation. Because what we can do, and I do, is when I see somebody that's standing on a street corner or, looking for help or whatever their situation is, I know that in this dimensional construct called the third dimensional world here of form, suffering is allowed. And I also know that we are all of the same power structure that God created us to be. We are all powerful. We are an extension of that power. The only thing that separates us from God, if you want to call it that way, in the sense of our power, is that we did not create ourselves. That separates us from what God. That's the only thing that distinguishes. I'll say it differently. That's the only thing that distinguishes us from God. We didn't create ourselves, but in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and there you are, and you have never not been there as that in your true nature, in your divine nature. You are powerful enough to dream a dream of separation and create a construct where all around you are the experiences of everything that's the opposite of your actual reality. And in that experience of it doesn't really fall short of a definition of hell, then we are experiencing the thoughts of separation, and they're manifesting as our experience. You can't fail at this game. You can only make it harder. And your soul is still going to eventually mature, and the ego will, I should say, step aside eventually and allow you to be the voice of God in form, because that is what you are. But the ego mind is what we're conditioned to support, activate, empower, and embrace as our identity. And that self is in constant judgment, either of those outside of us or of ourselves. And again, it always starts with our own self-judgment. So anytime, in any situation, there's really only a call for one thing. If someone in your experience is not loving you, they are crying for love. So give them some love. That's not hard to do. Right. Does that make you a better person than somebody else? What a ridiculous idea. Right. And if you don't do that, does that make you not a good person? That's impossible. God created you. You're perfect. Get over it. You're perfect. And until you begin to accept that and wonder about it, what would it feel like to know, truly know, to discover and know my divinity? What would that be like? That's something that's worthy of your attention. That's something worthy of all of our attention. But you, my brother, will never be not a good person. And no act, single or cumulative, of any kind that you've ever done diminishes who God knows that you are. So don't let your past be something that you judge. Let it be something that you forgive. And everything that's ever happened right up until this very second was in the past.
I love that. I love that, Brother T. And isn't it amazing when we know we are part of God and we know we are in God's likeness, that the only limitations are the limitations we set for ourselves. And we can have it all, but isn't it amazing when we get to the consciousness level, when we know we can have it all, our egoic priorities change, and having it all means something different than when we're at a lower vibration. And
so let me rephrase that if I can, Jason.
yes, please.
Isn't it amazing when we realize that we have always had it all and never did not always have it all? And isn't it going to be wonderful when we realize that beliefs are just ideas that we keep thinking over and over, and God didn't create us to be a thinker. So beliefs themselves are not a part of our reality. They're constructs of a weak mind that we've created to keep ourselves occupied while our soul matures, until eventually it taps us on the shoulder and says, let me take the steering wheel now for a while. You will be in a state of wonder, and the ego will never improve or unimprove. It's in a static condition. It can only not be what you truly are. And if it's not what you truly are, does it really matter what it does? Not really, because the only thing that will change your reality is ignoring the ego. Period, period, period.
Well said, Brother T. Well, I love that. I love that. And for everyone joining us, Brother T, thank you for your words today. I want to wish you a wonderful holiday season and a wonderful week. And we'll see everyone here on another episode of The Second Coming next week. Everyone,
Awesome.
have a wonderful,
Happy
wonderful
holidays.
week.